All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's May 7th, 2023. Earnings are getting wrapped up. The weather is nice outside, and the banking crisis is over, right? No, wrong. We had one good day on Friday. It calmed things down with the banking. Remember, we were talking about peak fear and all of that. Well, we had an interesting reaction on Friday, but now coming into this week, the bank stocks being at the lows or the highs of 2007, this is what has everybody talking. Pretty much what everyone's saying. How can you start a bull market, or how can you go up if your bank stocks are hitting multi-year lows? So that's the first thing. But this week we got a lot of other things. Like I said, earnings is wrapped up. We're not going to have a lot, but we do have big data in the CPI, and then the debt ceiling is going to be key. I got a little bit on that. So Chad, I got everything for you. I need you to drop your thumbs up on the video. I hope I see you on the live, but today is Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, and I need your help. This is the random account generator. What we ask on this video, you post a random option trade, strike price, expiration, all that. Post it below, and then we are going to pick a random play, again, below $100, and pick that in the morning. So do that, show some love, and obviously I'm like moving around. This video is kind of funny, bro, because like I got my girlfriend driving me around right now. I think it's kind of funny. I think I told her, I said, now she's looking at me very awkwardly. And now anyway, so I run it, baby.
Walking to the couch, it's the 2020 lash. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, so like I said, CPI this week, that is going to be the #1 most important thing. Then the second thing you're going to get is PPI, and then we have consumer sentiment. So this goes all the way to Friday, because remember we talked about Friday in the jobs report. You actually did get one of those good news is good news, bad news is bad news. It was kind of confusing because of the revisions, but we're not going to get caught up with all of that. And that's the thing about the CPI now, because CPI, that's going to come around Tuesday or Wednesday, but this is where it's going to get tricky because we just got the announcement from the Fed. Everybody is thinking about a pause. So now this CPI data, it is going to give you evidence of whether or not the Fed can actually pause at this meeting. But now this is where it gets tricky because, well, guess what? You have another CPI before the next Fed meeting in June. So we have this CPI this week, but then 3-4 weeks later, right ahead of the Fed, you get another CPI. But now this is where it also gets interesting for the CPI this week. It is expected on the core to come in at 5.4%. And why that's important? Because the last, I think 4 CPIs, core has stayed in a range of 5.5 to 5.7. So if it comes in at 5.4, that'll be the lowest it's been at for the quarter. And remember what we were talking about from the last meeting, even with the Fed raising rates right now, currently the Fed funds rate after Powell last Wednesday, it is at 5 to 5.25. Headline CPI is already at that rate or below it. Core is the next thing we need to see come down. So I think it's going to be an interesting one, but sadly, we've seen it throughout the last couple of data sets. It's like it has some importance, but then quickly, once the event is over now, everybody starts to move away from it. So that's going to be the big part this week. There will be a couple of earnings. Like I said, it's coming to an end, but that's what you got to keep in mind now, is because any of these companies that have already reported a couple weeks ago, they're going to start to be able to do their buybacks. But now this is what I really want to talk about. One, bank stocks at their levels. We got to see how that develops here, because if there's no bad news this week, people are going to use that as a relief rally. Let me say that again. If there is no negative updates, nothing bad happens, and no news occurs, that will be good for the bank stocks. But again, the general broader market, post-market, post-earnings, looking for a rally, that is what has people bringing up questions about the bank stocks. So that's the first thing, but now the next big thing, it's going to be the debt ceiling. So thankfully tomorrow you get that meeting there with Biden. They're going to come through, try to work on it, and through the next couple of weeks, like we said, if any of these meetings start to sound the same and they don't give us some updates, you may get a little bit more volatility in the bond market, and it's already showing up. That's what people are already bringing up, is the fact that the 3-month, the 1 month, and different parts of the curve just coming into early June, that is where the bond market is starting starting to trip out, showing some people are getting a little nervous about the debt ceiling. Now, Janet Yellen came out over the weekend. She said there's no other alternatives because apparently I think Biden is trying to like still issue more debt despite the debt ceiling. They're trying to use like a special clause, but even Janet Yellen was like, nah, you're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to see how it plays out, but this is the first big meeting of the debt ceiling. And then after that, that's where the next coming weeks, any lack of resolution, that is where things start to get volatile. But pretty much this week, little bit of earnings, CPI, then producer prices, then consumer sentiment. We're going to go over all of those as we get closer to it, then debt ceiling, and then anything else we get from the bank stock. So got to juggle a little bit. I think we're all kind of cut out for what we get. But now the real question is, where do we go from here? Because look at where the S&P is at. So that's the breakdown for the week. As far as now anything else, wait, let us get into the plays. I actually don't have that many. I am going to be playing the bonds. I'm still short on the 10-year and pretty much after the CPI, depending on what that comes out as. If people are like, yeah, the Fed is going to need to keep rates higher, I think the bond yields will climb up a little bit, but now we're kind of in this range. I wouldn't be surprised if it stayed there. And that's why I'm saying pretty much I'm going to be doing a lot of back and forth on the bonds because I think you could get a lot of plays in between this range until it starts to break out. That's going to be my first play. The second thing I want to look out for, it will be AMD. If you remember on Friday, they had that little Microsoft news and Microsoft is even killing it. So I want to look into that one, and that one's going to be very interesting. But I want to see if AMD could keep holding up some of the hype. Microsoft is the one I think that looks interesting. But AMD, they were reacting to the news about that partnership. People said it was a rumor. It shot up, came down the next day, but then it instantly went right back up. So that's the second one I'm really going to be watching. And then the third one, this one's kind of random, but Redfin, we have this in the long term. We brought this up on Friday. It had a very wild move. Like, we had to even investigate it, and pretty much they changed a lot of things. So I want to see if there's a continuation there and even give a secondary to real estate stocks. Yeah, we like ours like MPW. That's a REIT, but like UWMC, just watch anything related to real estate because there's been decent updates. And if there is anything that confirms a Fed pause, that does benefit real estate. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But as far as everything else, that's all I'm going to be looking at. We're going to see how it ends up playing out. But I think this week we're going to get a lot of responses to the data. And depending on the narrative it sets, I think it's just going to guide us into the next like week and a half or so until we get another set of random data most likely, or we start now really stopping any move from this week is all going to come to a halt as we get like a week or 2 weeks ahead of Powell. So get ready because this is May. Like I said, the weather's nice, man. Y'all should see it out here, but we're almost getting into summer now, so it's like we're gonna get like a week or two of this stuff, but before we know it, we get the final Powell here, the middle of the year Powell. There comes a SEP, and then from there we see really what's gonna happen with the economy and any call outs for like a 2023 recession or even 2024. It's like we're almost there. So Chad, that is it. Don't let me start ranting. I love you all. I will see you in the morning. And that is your watch. I don't know how to end it. I don't know how I feel about Mr. Mobile Office over here and doing this is awkward for me. But I love you. Girlfriend, say goodbye. You can say goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, did you hear her? I don't know if wow, she said bye. I thought she was gonna be shy. All right. I love you, Chad. God bless you. Have a good weekend. I hope you did. I got some good feel up for you too, and enjoy it, man. Okay, you're blessed. Okay, just that's it. You're blessed. And I said you've made it halfway through this year. Are you kidding me? I keep saying halfway, but I'm gonna go. I keep talking horn.